Hey everybody, Josh the RV Nerd of Bish's RV down here at Jayco today. They had a whole big batch of J feathers just come fresh off production. Gave me a call and said, hey, you think folks want to take a look at these? And I said, and how? So one of the reasons I wanted to get on this floor plan here, this was a floor plan that existed previously, but J Feather and White Hawk have essentially merged together because I guess birds of a feather flock together, essentially. And what's happened is some of the White Hawky features have been absorbed into this J Feather model. Like you notice how the nose cap looks a lot more White Hawk, and we've got True Queen beds and fireplaces. Things like that that were traditionally more in the White Hawk family that kind of over time became J Feather features. And they said, why don't we just mash this together? Now this floor plan is very interesting. Now the model number is a little deceptive because it's called a 29QBH, but this thing is over 35 foot long, tip to tail, tongue to bumper. But it gives us a private True Queen bedroom, a very nice bathroom with a nice locking door privacy that most bunkhouses don't provide you, and a private rear L bunkhouse that could be a rainy day second living room, but also has a cargo bunk access door so that while you're going down the road, if you need a place to put the kids' bikes or like outdoorsy kind of stuff, you can repurpose the bunk space into not a toy hauler, but a functional cargo area that thankfully has a deadbolt so the gas station murder hobos don't snag your kids because, you know, that's a scary thing. You want to make sure you got the peace of mind on that. J Feather's been very good about giving us very large patio awning space, and this RV has no slides on the campsite. Now, feathers are all now double Asdel, so Asdel on the inside and outside. We have 200 watts of base solar. There's a 400 watt package with 2,000 watt inverter, heated and closed underbelly, Goodyear tires, and this does not ride on the traditional like Lippert I-beam frame chassis. This is one of those that's on the Norco Huck bolted Z frames right here. Some people prefer one versus the other. I just want to point out what this RV has, what it does, what it doesn't do, and let you decide if it's the right one for you or not. And if you appreciate the candid look at things, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Meantime, let's step inside, see if it's the right one for you or not. So standing way back here, walking our way in, one of the things that I observed is the door actually opens past potentially the awning arm, meaning that door could bump into the awning arm. If that gets hit hard enough, that could be a problem. So you're going to want to make sure if you have that awning open, you know, we really tell the kids, hey, be careful with the door. You know, don't let it just fling open and smash into stuff. Now, Jayco used to always offer at least two decors. They basically married up what they called their modern farmhouse and their vintage, whatever it was called. And now we have vintage farmhouse. But I like it. I like the lighter, brighter look. And I know that there are some people who have kind of the white cabinet fatigue. Everything seems to be kind of cyclical. For the majority of my career, what I heard was people were tired of all of the browns, which is kind of where this came from, to lighten and brighten something up. But it's still not for everybody, you know, and that's okay. I've yet to find the one look or design that really does work for everybody. This floor plan, I will say, as we go, there's a couple times that I had some nitpicks or critiques, and things that you like and things that you don't. I really appreciate when you share those in the comment section, because knowing what you like and what you don't is what allows me to help feed information back to manufacturers. Like when I first looked at this, I went, huh, why didn't they put a fireplace there? That's a really good spot for one of those electric space heating fireplaces. But you'll find in a few minutes here, when I get spun around a little further, it already has one. When I first walk into the bedroom, I'm like, dude, where is the hanging storage? And then when you hang out a little bit longer, you realize that it actually has really nice closet and a lot of dresser space, way more than you would realize. So this is kind of a camper where there are sometimes a few more things than meet the eye initially. One of the areas where I really commend them, a lot of bunkhouses are painfully lacking in countertop prep space. And because of the way that the counter just goes the entirety, essentially, of the camp side of the living and kitchen area, you end up with quite a bit here. Now, part of it is sort of stuffed back into this corner, which seems a little bit problematic, but again, I would ask existing owners of floor plans with this kind of like rear corner feature, what kind of use and function have you found here? Now, you might have noticed that power outlet in that upper corner. If you want to, that could absolutely be a nice, handy little appliance corner. So like air fryers or coffee makers or something like that. You can stuff an appliance back there that eats up a lot of counter space, but you can use up counter space that isn't everyday like easily, readily accessible and functional, you know. Now, I just saw a quick little glance at the air conditioner in the viewfinder. By default, this has a single 15,000 BTU air, but you can get this with a second air conditioner applied to it if you are so inclined. Now, Jayco does a neat thing where all their AC ducts are vented, louvered, and double run. What all that means is that you have twice the air ducts to get the airflow out of the venting and into the living cavity, and each vent can turn and close individually. Now, as long as we're staring up here at the ceiling, every room, generally speaking, will have a powered vent fan. The thing is, the vent fan is sized to according to the cubic volume of space in the room. So essentially, the living room gets a big fan. The bathroom, the bedrooms, those get smaller fans because they're smaller rooms. I still prefer the bigger fans, but they're not really hard to upgrade. Now, a lot of people like to use the phrase max air fans. That's kind of like the phrase Kleenex. It's sort of a name brand, and max air is one of the most premier, best options, certainly. But if you are looking for a more budget-friendly solution, and I'm not sponsored by anybody, keep that in mind, look at a brand called Hengs, Hengs, and their Vortex series. You could install 3 or 4 Hengs Vortex fans for the cost of one max air and have a larger net benefit. Ooh, I just noticed some smart stuff here. Okay, if you're a first timer, there's things you don't know. You don't know what you don't know, and there's some things I've learned to spot over the years. If you look at the location of that big black converter box under the fridge, it's in the living area. It's in a place where mom and dad can keep an eye on it, so the kids can't mess with fuses. A lot of brands will put them back in the bunk rooms. It's never been my experience that the kids will mess with it much, but everybody has different kids, and different kids have different levels of curiosity. So, you know, it's a thing to keep in mind. The other thing is, notice how there's the little toe kick cutaway below the stove and the sink right there. The reason that's really nice is it lets you actually stand right up next to the stove and the sink instead of leaning forward all the time. You do that for about 5 minutes, cooking or doing some dishes, and you end up with some weird lower back pain, and you don't know why, because you don't realize that you're constantly shifting your weight forward in a weird way. It's those little details that I look for in RVs that will be the things that make you not even realize how much you enjoy this compared to some other things out there. So it's all those little drops in the bucket that kind of make it fill up, you know? It really is the little things, because, you know, I mean, what bunkhouse isn't going to have a refrigerator and a microwave? Now, the fact that this has a full oven, some don't, you know, that's kind of worth noting. But on paper, you know, so many of these things look and read so similarly. It's those fine detail differences that really separate it. Now, this right here is what was throwing me off. I looked at the white cabinets on the right and went, huh, where's the fireplace? And then I looked over here, I'm like, oh, because what this allowed them to do is maintain maximized storage while still giving us that bonus electric heater. Now, in case you're wondering if your feet are kicked out, like let's say you have the theater recliner kicked open, it's not going to produce the kind of heat that's going to burn your feet or something like that. And some people like really warm feet. The other thing is those typically have a proximity sensor. So let's say you have a dog or a baby that gets right up close to it, it'll stop putting out heat. The surface might still be warm, but it will stop cranking out the hot air that could maybe burn somebody, you know? Real quick note. They are generally in feathers very good about not having carpet or vents in the flooring. So, especially in a bunkhouse, that's yet another kid-friendly thing that's also just handy and easy cleaning. Now, you do have a choice of some seating in here. We're looking at theater seat today. Hide-a-bed is available, but have you noticed they're not using any of the pleather kind of stuff? Jayco has actually shifted over after a very positive, response in this last year to all cloth touch. So there, you know, there's just there's a known thing in the RV industry that a lot of the brands that use the pleather stuff, that furniture starts to peel and flake, like almost mathematically, magically, just after the warranty period of the seating and the RV expires. Isn't that convenient for, well, nobody, essentially. Now, over here, you know, if the theater seat's open, yeah, it kind of gets in the way of that storage a little bit. This is, I think, secondary storage. They just had some why not space, so they said, well, we don't want to waste it necessarily. Oh, back to the seating. If you don't like the theater seat, a hide-a-bed is available. And a lot of times people go, well, it's a bunkhouse. Wouldn't you want a hide-a-bed? And you know what? Different strokes, different folks. The way I look at this RV already has a lot of sleeping. Personally, I love the idea of having a theater seat in this, because if the whole family's stuck inside on a rainy day, The owners of the camper actually get a nice big fat W instead of essentially just the little kids getting the best portion of the seating setup. You know what I mean? And as you're seeing, that TV can pivot. There is technically a little storage behind it. It doesn't have shelving or anything in there, but you know that could actually be useful for like you know, pitchers. If you're making like a, you know, a pitcher of tea or Kool-Aid or something like that, it actually could still be pretty useful. That is just a conventional microwave. It's not well, like air fryer and all that kind of stuff. Now, our woodwork is all lumber core pocket screwed. You can see how our cabinetry all has magnet holdbacks and hidden hinges. J Feather used to really kind of be the bare bones basic Jayco laminated RV, and it really has kind of, it's like it went back to graduate school. Big spot for wastebasket, holy cow. But basically, J Feather has just kind of, it's really leveled up over the last couple years, especially once Feather and White Hawk merged. I also like how they gave us a big drawer below that stovetop as compared to just making that an open pocket, you know? An open pocket is nice that it's not wasted storage. It's better than just covering it and wasting it. But I really appreciate personally the drawers, because that's all the way down at the floor, and otherwise you'd have to almost crawl down on your hands and knees to get to it. And you know, that kind of sucks. That's not fun for anybody. Now, this table's free floating in the conventional booth dinette here. So if you're a little bit bigger around the midsection like me, you can always cheat that over toward the wife and kids when it's taco night. Now, obviously, when you get a booth, that can fold down into a little bit of a sleeper. And if I'm there is a table and chairs option, swaption, by the way. If I'm not mistaken, they have that new mega lounger where it's basically like a theater seat and a hide-a-bed all the way across the slide, but no dinette. So you have theater seat or hide-a-bed, you have dinette or table and chairs, and then you have Mambo number 5, the mega lounger. I'd be kind of curious, which one would you like to go with and why? And if you're sort of curious about that mega lounger, I think I have a sample of that in my 27MK J Feather footage, which is a very nice couples model, by the way. Now, if you notice on the left, there is a sliding privacy door here. I just don't have that fully deployed, just so that I popped it out just enough to give myself a reminder. In our early floor plan and a flash footage, I did something I despise doing, but it's kind of necessary. It's almost become necessary sometimes in some RV bathrooms. I used a fisheye wide angle lens in this that I am not using right now. So it's very hard for me to really give you a full understanding of the space of this bunk room unless I do that. So I wanted to give you that initial sort of look at everything, and then we're gonna, you know, get some extra details moving around here. Now, I'm actually gonna slowly sit my way down in this rear room back here. Again, I want to point out that you do actually have heat pumping into the bunk room, because you would be amazed how many RV manufacturers forget that handy little detail. It's absolutely mind-boggling. You might notice how both your upper and lower bunks over here on the campsite have household, have USB, and have the little phone cargo net pockets. And if you are so inclined, you do have a spot here where you could add some entertainment for the residents of the bunk room. The thing is, this RV has one of the coolest little Legend of Zelda ladder things I think I've seen in my career. This little built-in fold-down hideaway stick ladder thing is awesome. The Jayco factory people tell me it's like actually shockingly expensive to include this thing because of the materials and the hardware and everything. I love it. I love that it's built in, but it goes away. It's not a portable ladder that I have to find a place to stow away. I love that it's all just built right in and included in here. Now, any of the windows that you see back here, they will open for airflow. And by the way, I forgot to turn on a light. People will ask me sometime, hey, what's the part number on that ladder? Man, I don't have part numbers. Not to mention, sometimes there's more than one just part number. It depends on vendors, you know, sometimes. So I'm not a person whose role has part numbers. That's something that would be more of a parts specialist. I don't just have any of that information. One of the other things that I really like here is, notice, if you think about this, like there are plenty of private rear bunkhouses. A lot of times you'll have 3 or 4 bunks back here, but because this one is that L bunkhouse, it creates the opportunity for an adult size sleeper across the top back of the bed. Most bunkhouses cannot fit somebody who's adult size. They're only little kid sized. And I love how even this bunk over here still has, you know, the power outlets and everything. But one of the other nice things is this has the easy move bunk get out the way system that You literally just lift it and forget it. Now, I don't think you're supposed to travel down the road with that in the up position, but if you are, really stuck inside on a rainy day, if you need to convert this thing over into something of a second living room, you can. By the way, see how that one little sofa armrest is sort of floating around there? That's what they're supposed to do. I kind of hate those things because I feel like I'm always chasing them and they're never where I want them. But maybe I don't know. Do you like the fake sofa armrest, or do you like having those little armrest bolsters included? Leave me a note. By the way, you can kick this into what I call simulated cinema seat mode if you need some separation anxiety for the kids, like, hey, don't touch each other. Now, they do a really good job of maximizing storage in this bunk room in really creative ways. Last year, they stuffed a picnic table down here, but it was too big for the room. This year, they instead included a pair of these little fold away TV trays. And that is brilliant content in an RV. These are a laughed at, but very underrated, useful feature in campers. And you can see how there's a little slot right below the sofa where they store. So they don't occupy any space. You don't have to like find a spot for them. It already has a spot. But you don't have to use them in just the bunk room. You could use them anywhere in the RV or outside in a way. And of course, that sofa can fold down into a little bit of a sleeper. I do also like how they you see how they just kind of finish it off on the left and right sides of the sofa. The extra little attention to detail is something that I really enjoy. But then we have door number 2 over here. That's our cargo bunk door, the bunk cargo door, if you will. Very handy. Not so much for like when you get to your destination, but on the way there, being able to utilize this space is great. And in an absolute emergency pinch for an overnight stay over, you could use that with the slide closed to give the kids access to the bunk room. Again, we will swing back later in the video and take a look at what I call road mode. For now, though, again, they really did a good job. I think the best job of that they could have in the space that was available to really maximize the storage. And I know that we are right up close and personal on this storage space here. Again, I really try hard not to use a wide angle lens if at all possible to avoid. So none of this storage is really, this is definitely more shallow than the kind of cabinet over here on the left, but storage is storage, especially little kids' clothes. You can really kind of fold up and roll up and stuff into a lot of funny places. Now, I mentioned how you can come up with some other interesting uses for some of the table kind of stuff in this. And again, some of this, like the table that we're looking at down here, that's the dining table. It can fold down to like basically a coffee table height. So if you want to, you could always slide that in front of the theater seat, or you could take it outside. Now, the theater seat is it's called a floor flush slide, but it's not truly floor flush. So you might notice how that TV tray is angled and a little bit wonky. The thing is, it's sort of spring loaded that way, so that once you put some decent weight on it, it tends to lay flatter. But I'm not sure how well those TV trays will work in front of the theater seats. I'm also not sure how well it necessarily needs to work in front of the theater seats. Apologies again for the reflective dad bod over there in the mirror. Just to give you an idea, I don't sit at dinettes and look around the RVs enough. You're going to spend time at the dinette. This is what it would look like here. So even without turning that TV, if we again are really stuck inside on a rainy day and going to spend some extended time in this RV, I think that's where this works. Like if you're going to be like, no, I don't want to spend any more time than I have to in the camper. We want to be a little more casual than that. I kind of think that's almost where the Stick and Tin J Flight family comes in. If you want to start spending more time in the RV, I feel like that's where J Feather comes into the mix. Now, I meant to include some bonus footage with this cabinet open that I was going to flash on screen later, but I forgot that it's already open. So I guess we're just going to roll that beautiful bean footage and just start going right from there. Space around the toilet is not bad. I noticed I generally had enough room to do my business, but it was potentially a little bit of an elbow bumper. So I actually found that if you open the door before using the toilet, like I've done right here, it gives you more elbow room. So there's a weird kind of hack. And again, this is something I was hoping to surprise and show you with some bonus footage that I already recorded, but it seems that I forgot to basically I'm just bombing. I'm just screwing myself up left, right, and center today. Now this RV is 6.5 foot tall. which means when I stand in that shower, I wear the skylight like a hat. Which is not my favorite hat. It burns my skull, and maybe that's the reason some of my hair is gone. It also could be some karmic retribution. Um, I used to walk up behind my bald-headed grandfather when I was a little kid with a kitchen rag, and I'd breathe on his head, go, and then I'd act like I was shining it and go, eek, eek, eek. And then, right about senior year in high school, the widow's peak started kicking in, and I kind of lost my hairline. But that's, that's on me. Now, you may have also noticed on the right side of the screen a second look at the magical hideaway sliding shower door there. But there's also the, you got some linen cabinet space, a little bit of storage below the stainless sink as well. I do appreciate how the sink is also a little bit more high-rise. Now, just in case you're curious, I try to share good with bad. I just share information and let you decide if it's good or bad. This is a little bit of a peekaboo, I smell you gappy gap door at the top right there. Some people hate that. Some people don't care. I'm just going to let you know what it is and you decide. Jayfeather does a couple interesting things here in the bedroom, though, that I think are really nice. It's not easy to run wiring in laminated walls like this, but they actually do give you just a bedroom light switch, I think, at the perfect location. But that little bracket down below, this bedroom has a sliding pocket privacy door that you can actually latch from the inside. So if you're in here, just minding your own business, casually folding laundry, maybe aggressively, we'll say, the fact that door can stay latched, for some folks, give them a little more peace of mind that they're looking for. And some people just, when they're sleeping, like the idea that nobody can just walk in and look at them while they're breathing in their most vulnerable state, which, I understand. Now, because they didn't include hanging wardrobe towers, they had the opportunity to put big breeze windows here in this bedroom. The trick is you look at this and go, yeah, but where do I hang my clothes? And we're going to get there. It's just around the corner. In the meantime, though, this is a 60 by 80 true queen. They don't offer any Olympic queens or kings. This is a 60 by 80 bed, and that's all she wrote, folks. The good news is there's some really good storage under it, and they, again, put on their creative brains. Instead of putting a heat vent in the floor, which is what most brands would have done because it would have been easier, they actually ran a heat duct under that bed. But that created these funny little pockets on the left and right side. So they turned those into dresser drawers that open toward you so that you don't have to lift the bed every time you want to get to the dresser drawers. Now, there's also a couple interesting little things over here. The black dot at the very back of that stand, that's actually a wireless charge pad. But if you push it, and that basically if you push down, it'll pop up. And there's dual USB Type A plugs on there. But then you see the blue sticker right there. It says, pull me, like we're going to go through the looking glass with Alice in Wonderland. Well, that also is a drawer, but it's interesting. Doing it this way gave you access to a larger pocket of space for less money because they actually had to include less hardware to do it overall. I've seen a lot of manufacturers start to do this. I actually kind of like the idea. The other thing is, if you do have stuff on top of that and you just pull it forward, you don't have to take everything off. It doesn't flip open and close. It slides, which I personally prefer. Now, this is not the most useful storage, but at least that you don't have to fight the doors. They will hold themselves open. And it's high enough off the bed that you're not going to concuss and cold cock yourself if you lay up in bed, because you can see that there's actually quite a bit of headroom there. Actually, let me see if I can't give you over on the right side of the screen a little demo with me sitting up in the headboard area. Absolutely not a problem there. But what about hanging storage? That exists around the corner, as does your TV hookup space. And again, remember, each room basically has a powered vent fan. Now, it's the small fan for a small room. You have cross breeze windows. You want to upgrade the fan, you can, but from the factory, that's what we get right there, man. The thing is, by doing it this way, I think you actually might get larger hanging space in total. Let me get over there. Kind of a tricky spot for me to wedge my fat body in here and record all this. It's certainly not any less than standard hanging storage space. And if you do need more shelf space, that's available, but it's also removable in case you do want to hang Uncle Gary's sundresses in there. Now, you've got two small drawers for socks and undies, and then you got two bigger drawers for, I don't know, more socks and undies. But I don't normally showcase a lot of storage like this live on camera, but this is the best way that I can think to kind of display all that for you. And by the way, I know we're looking like straight down. Remember that dresser drawer I showed you on the other side of the bed? there's another one of those over here. Now, so that I stop making you motion sick, I'm going to quit pointing the camera straight down, and I'm going to see how I can maneuver my way out of here. You may have noticed to fully open those drawers, I did need to lift the bed up. That's just kind of one of those things. This RV is already long enough. They wanted to include the storage, but the stuff kind of infights with one another, and you got to, I don't know. You just got to figure it out as you go, I guess, like I did. So just to kind of complete the look at the bedroom from the other direction, again, we have that sliding privacy door that can latch shut. Give you a little look at the hardware down there, although I'm sure you understand it sometimes. Some folks just do better when they see it. I'm that way. I haven't mentioned this, but I do appreciate how the windows are all framed up. And did you notice how they have the blackout night rollers as compared to like the pleated cloth shades with the strings that sometimes break or whatever, I also took the liberty of closing up the slide for road mode. Overall, this RV's travel access isn't terrible. It's not ideal by any stretch of the imagination. This is a rack and pinion slide. One of the benefits of that is that it could be deployed partially, but unless it's deployed fully, it should not be sat in. That's just one of the things in the nature of that beast. But without ever touching a slide button, I can get to the front bedroom, I can get to the bathroom, I can get to all of the kitchen, and thanks to that cargo bunk door, if you had to, you could get the kids to their beds overnight. I don't love that idea, but it is theoretically possible. Now, if we start asking the question, what kind of truck does it take to yank this sucker around right here? The average salesperson at the average place has probably been trained to tell you, absolutely, your half-ton can handle this. I'm very uncomfortable with that. There are some aspects of this RV's weights and measures that maybe could be half-ton towable, but I don't like the idea because the length of this thing and the total GVW of it is kind of bossy for a lot of half-tons. So that is something that, I don't think you need a heavy-duty 3/4. You don't need a dually for this or a Peterbilt or anything. But I do think that if I was going to wing a generalized recommendation, something more in the 3/4 ton family, you would definitely be far, far more comfortable with. If you have a very capable half-ton and you are flatland towing and camping over shorter distances, you might be okay. But there's a very small window there. Now, notice the big blue sticker on the chassis right there. That's telling us that this is on a little bit different frame from the industry standard. Now, there's an interesting split in the J Feather family. They're all J Feathers in the tandem axles. They're technically J Feather Ultralight, but J Feather. There's nothing super ultralight about J Feather. When you get up to a super slide like this, you get the full nose cap. If it's less than a super slide, there is no nose cap. Now, there's no real other equipment differences. That's just this interesting little sub-diviner line. Diviner? Yep, within the family. I'm going to Nerdstradamus divine my way through this thing, apparently. I love how nicely cleaned and finished the pass-through is. Notice, too, the simple solutions, the magnet holdbacks up there, so like your jack cranks and stuff like that, they're just up out of the way. Although I would have liked it had they put the battery disconnect, that red paddle switch, a little further up out of the way. That would have worked nicely for me. As we back up here, you might notice slam latches and magnet holdbacks, but also right below that red rock solid sticker, you can see that this is all prepped and ready for side and rear view cameras. So, when you're going down the road, if you have to hit your turn signals, you could add a camera to be able to see who's in your blind spot. Now, down below here, belly-mounted spare tire. We have our stinky slinky sewer tube, but the underbelly of this is also enclosed and forced air heated, factory standard. Now, that doesn't magically make this some kind of insane Four Seasons camper. To my knowledge, they've never actually done weather testing on J Feather models, but here's the thing I'm going to tell you. If the snowflakes aren't flying, as long as you're willing to burn that propane, you're going to be okay in here. If the snowflakes are flying, if it's going to dip below freezing tonight and then come back above freezing tomorrow, you're probably going to be okay. But I can't offer you any better promises because the factory hasn't offered any better promises. So kind of keep that in mind. Now, by default, you've got the Goodyear Endurance radials here. The one that we're looking at today, again, does have that in-command smart system. I've looked at multiple J Feathers. I'm so sorry if I'm getting this mixed up. But basically, You can get factory TPMS on this with their smart command system. I don't love the location of the outside speakers. They're up pretty high. I don't necessarily like 6-inch holes drilled through my sidewalls, although those are surface mounted, so that's not a 6-inch hole in the wall. That's just probably a hole just small enough to run the wiring through. And I'm going to back up just a little bit, because if I stand fully broadside on this thing, it looks like they forgot to put an awning on the front side of it. But what you don't realize, Mr. Cousin Garrett, could you flash the awning link back at the bottom of the screen for us? That's a big awning. It's a big freaking awning. But the RV is 35-foot tongue to bumper. Now, the box of this is probably closer to 30, 29 feet, whatever. But that's not a small awning. And because there's no slides over here, you're really getting very good, almost maximized awning space. Now, this is my paranoia dad caution thing, because we are in a bunkhouse. I don't like it when we have hot air exhaust points, the furnace and the on-demand water heater over here under the awning on the campsite of the RV where the kids are going to be. Make sure you tell the kids not to touch that. And my pro tip for you, park a picnic table in front of them if you have littles, so that the littles just can't accidentally bop over here and get their hands on them, you know. They had a little extra pocket of space for their mini camp kitchen. That's why there's that extra open chunk to the right, because everything over on the left is kind of standardized. We got our little 110 outdoor fridge, our Capital griddle, and if this is all standard, if you don't like the griddle, you could always take it out and just have a roll open countertop to make some, I don't know, drinks or something like that. I do like the outlets in here. It's a hot cold water faucet. It has one of those blue blue or black, I don't know. It's got one of those sprayer hoses that attaches to it. I don't necessarily love those inside of a compartment like that. Just in case there is any sort of, you know, blip with the water somewhere. It's kind of nice to not have to worry about that getting everywhere necessarily. Now, on the back here, doesn't have a bumper, but it does have an accessory hitch, and you could do about anything you want with that. The thing is, like, bumpers, you really actually, according to the factory's warranty status, should not, like, attach stuff to it like bike racks, but that hitch, you can. So depending on what you're doing, or if you have like a portable generator, you could put a generator tray off the back of this thing, bike racks or whatever works for you. And obviously, we have a ladder to get you up to that roof, where you obviously see that 200-watt solar panel. Now, there's an option to get a second one of those with a 2,000-watt inverter from the factory, but by default, this has 200 watts of solar and it's inverter prepped. The RV is wired for a maximum of a 2,000-watt inverter, by the way, so if you want more than that, you're going to have to kind of really get invasive on the wiring here, and at that point, it's almost just the juice ain't worth the squeeze. Working our way back here, oh, something else I forget to talk about on that roof. That actually is plywood roof decking instead of OSB, which is just exceptionally uncommon. Even most luxury fifth wheels don't do that. This door back here, this is just like your main entry door. And one of the reasons I want to stress that is you can deadbolt this sucker. So if you want to make sure that this door can stay locked and a little more secure, you can. I think it's interesting that they put a privacy shade in the bunk room door, but not the main door. So they're aware that those things exist. They just didn't apply them. And again, for transit purposes, this can be an awesome, super useful cargo space. You know, if you got little kids' bikes would easily load right in here. My pro tip for that though is like wrap them in like drape a blanket over them, something so they don't, the handlebars and stuff don't smash into your woodwork would be kind of a nice sort of thing right there. I also really appreciate how they put a strut on that door at the bottom left there so that it doesn't accidentally get caught behind the slide fascia, because if you didn't know if that bunk room door was open and you started closing the slide out, that could be a very unhappy, expensive mistake. Now, the windows, they're all tinted. They all open for airflow. And if I'm not mistaken, this is what I call a single-headed sewer monster, where all of our sewer stuff all outlets out of a single centralized location. And yes, indeedy doodly, that is the fact, Jack. So you don't have to do the poop scoop boogie to shift, you know, stuff between a couple different campers. Now, I'm walking backwards, trying not to trip over power cords, which is easier said than done when you're clumsy like me. And we've got the Obi-Wan Kenobi lightsaber lighting on the front. Not for nothing, I don't know, but I do like those solid beam fusion lights better than the ... dash Morse code lights, but that's just, you know, my 2 cents. Now, very brief, very fast bullet point rapid fire construction overview of this. I mentioned the plywood roof decking. That's a 3/8 plywood. You've got 5-inch vaulted trusses up on the roof, set on average about every 16 inches on center. Your walls and your floor are both laminated. Now, your walls are obviously, you know, aluminum frame, block foam insulated, and you have Asdel composites on the inside and outside. The floor doesn't use the composites; it still uses you know, wood within the lamb witch, if you will. But the floor is also thicker than the wall, so that hopefully you don't end up developing soft spots over time. So here's the thing. If somebody like me says, oh, you know, they don't have soft spots on these, it sounds super like, of course you would say that, dude. I'd like to actually open this up to the class because I want real information out there for folks who might be spending potentially a lot of money, being real about it. If you have a J-feather, have you had soft spots in your floor? And if you could please advise how old your camper is when that happened or was, or whatever you want to share there. Any information you're willing to provide. Or if you have a J-feather that has never had a problem, please share that too, and we'll see what happens down in the comments. I'm willing to leave that up, you know, to the chance of the universe, because I want real information. I don't want just fluff stuff coming off of this. You know what I mean? So thanks again for tuning in. I'm going to leave you a bunch of links in the video description. First of all, whether you're curious or whether you're serious, if you want to see the price tag of one of these, double check the link down there in the video description. It'll be the very first one right at the top. If you scroll down a little bit, you'll see the weights and measures. And if you scroll down a little further, I'll try to dig up some similar floor plans, some other bunkhouses that give you a private bunk room in a travel trailer as compared to like the open corner bunks, because I figure if you're looking at this, you're probably trying to get that privacy. But that does mean the RV has to be a little longer, a little heavier, a little more expensive to accomplish that. So everything is a bit of a push and a pull. And if you appreciate things like that, how we don't do hidden dealer fees, how we open the storage, how we shoot you straight, hit that subscribe button, and we'll see you the next time around. So take care, stay safe, have fun, and happy camping, everyone.